let's start from a simple if statement. Let's start with the if first. Then we now do nested if. If remaining days greater than let me start with less than. Remaining days less than 30 or less than 0. Of course, when it's negative, you know that means that product has expired. Less than 0. Then return expired. Else, if you are using Excel, you'll be seeing prompts and all of those things. So it's easier. But once you understand the flow, you can work anywhere. I tell you, working on Google Sheet is sweet, but just that because of the dispensation that we are in, it can actually be challenging. You share the sheet with some people, their own version cannot open some of those things that you are doing. So that's why you need to, there must be a middle ground. If you know that you are sharing with a lot of people and they might not be able to work online, they are using offline documents, especially for those ones that are obsolete. You know, there are some people that their own generation is not our own generation, but yet they are still in the space. But those kind of people, you might consider, you know, bringing it down to their level so that even on their Excel sheet, they can as well get this done. Now, expired. Now, if now, the way it operates, if it is less than 0, it should give us expired. But if it is not less than 0, so good comma, it should bring good stock, or let's say just good. So let's close the parentheses. Now, what it has done for this is just a simple if statement. I'll take it slowly. Is quite important. I'm telling you, this kind of report is a report that some people, they can even source out, because it's one of those highly demanded, you know, things to do. From there, you can generate dashboard. From there, you can do pivot table. You can do a lot of things from there. This is the way it works. The if statement. If H2, that means this cell, if it's less than 0, we are talking about remaining days now. This is shelf life remaining. Then you should say it's expired. Otherwise, if it is not less than 0, that means that it is greater than 0, we should say it's good. So that's what just happened. So if we drag this down now, just to feel, you can see that the ones that are less than 0, we have seen expired already. That's the first stage. So now, for if, this is where it becomes a little bit cumbersome. Remember that for our summary, we have 4 categories: expired, less than 30 days, between 30 and 60 days, between 60 and 90 days. Then we have above 90 days. So if I were you, I can try to just copy this and place it where I can be seeing it under my analysis page. So these are the categories that we want. Let me just insert that here. We want these categories. Okay, so now expired, that's obviously less than 0. So let's go back to our if condition. So if H2 is less than 0, we say it is expired. Now, we have 5 conditions. The first one we did was just a simple if statement with just one condition. It's also possible that we have conditions from different columns. That was the reason why I introduced us to that AND function. It could be that if H2 is less than 0 and F2 is match. So that AND function, the way we used yesterday, maybe if we have time, maybe next week we'll also recap on that. We can bring those conditions together in one. But to this now, if it is less than 0, expired. Else, if it is not less than 0, but it is less than 30, we should say it is what? Less than 30 days. So then, instead of closing it here, the way function works is you give the true statement. If that condition is true, what should be seen? And whenever you see this double quotation, that means that you want it to return like that. So whenever this is true, H2 less than 0, what should be the result? Expired. Else, if it is not true, then good. That's for simple if statement. But if we have multiple conditions, what do? Then we use what we call nested if. So if it is less than 0, expired. Else if, so we put another if statement instead of putting the end of the if statement. So we can say else if this is now less than 30. So else if H2 is less than 30, let me remove that last position. What should be seen? It should return less than 30 days. Less than 30 days. But if it is greater than 30 or greater than or equal to 30, if it's not less than 30, let me end this if statement so that you see what to bring. I want us to go step by step so you'll be seeing the way it responds to all of those queries. So if it is not less than, let's say it's 30 and above, I can now say, okay, else return greater than or equals to 30. Greater than or equals to 30. Then I can now close. Now I said something. The number of parentheses that you close with will be equal to the number of if statements that you have used. So in this case, we've used 2. So we use 2 parentheses. Enter. So can you see it now? Greater than or equals to 30 based on what we entered. So if I replicate this using my relative referencing, so you can see the ones that are expired, the ones that are greater than or equals to 30. We only introduce 2 conditions. By the time we use if statement, my lecturer used to tell us something. That if you learn the hard way first, you will be able to understand the easier way. But if you learn the easier way first, you will not want to learn the hard way. And that's the same thing. If you are learning how to drive with automatic, and by the time you finish learning, they now introduce to manual car, it becomes a problem. So we've introduced 2 conditions. We call it nested if. If this one is true, okay, give me this result. If it's not true, but if this one is true, give me this result, bit by bit. Sometimes at the beginning, I this was one way I learned this statement, so that by the time I write a very compound statement, it becomes difficult for me to debug. But if I finish one and I take, okay, there's no error up to this extent, then I know that yes, the next one, if there's any error, that's where I'll be looking at. So bit by bit, this one is correct. I check it through, go to the next condition, and so on and so forth. So now, let me take one more before we ask questions. So I'll remove this my parentheses again. We said if it's less than 30, we should say less than 30 days. Nested if, else if, another if statement. If this is less than 60, we should say between 30. That means that because we've used, I will explain this later because of those that attended yesterday's class, so you don't get confused. If it's less than 60, we've already set the condition for those ones that are where did we stop? Less than 0. Okay, we now went to less than 30. Then now less than 60. If you take this 30 as the ceiling and run for figures that are less than 60, that's what you do. At the only show you can manipulate and try the way it works. So less than 60, if it's less than 60, so we can say we should return between 30 and 60 days. Between 30 and 60 days. Else if, let me also close this first so we see whether there's an error. Else if, we should say it's greater than 60.
Please, can you enhance your sheet? It's kind of small.
Small. Okay, let me
enhance it.
All right, no problem. I'll do that. Just hold on, please. Can you see the code at all? Can you see the code at all? Please, 1 minute, please.
I can see the code now.
Okay, all right. So let's go ahead. So now, where did we stop? If we said if H2 is less than 60, so we say between 30 and 60 days. Hence, we say greater than 60. Again, the number of parentheses that you use to close will be the same number of if statement that you have used. So close to close to 3. And you can see that because of the little experience I have, I know that there's already an error because all of these parentheses is meant to be different colors. And the reason for this is because I refuse to close it greater than 60 with quotation. So you can see that has changed. So we go again. So we can now replicate this. Okay. So now, if you look at the first cell that we'll have, so you need to also understand what you are doing and know where there's an error. Many times you go and cross-check to be sure that the condition that you have specified is not against what you want to do. Look at this. Greater than 156 days, greater than 60. 155 days, greater or equals to 30. So that means the condition that have been specified actually has, an issue. So we need to modify that condition and get the result that we want. Of course, this other one is okay, expired. So now we go back there. The if statement. If H is less than 0, expired. We are good with that. If H2 is less than 30, so we should say less than 30 days. Less than 30 days. That's the nested if. Less than 30 days. Else, if H2 is less than 60, we should say between 30 and 60 days. Right? If it's less than 60, between 30 and 60 days. Now, the next nested if will now be inside this greater than. Let me finish so that I'll give them to people to ask questions. So let me put the next nested if. So the next one, and that should be the last one now. So I'll say if this is less than 90, so then I can say between 60 and 90 days. Else, the last one, above 90 days. Above 90 days. Above 90 days. So now you can see that automatically that could have been updated above 90 days. So let me just drag this down. And there we go. Above 90 days, above 90 days, above 90 days, between 60 and 90 days. So with this alone, you can actually see, you don't need to look at figures. You can see, the analysis of each of the items that you have there. That's if statement and nested if. By the time you get this, well, of course, we do that. But now we use if statement, you understand that one is much more easier than this. But when you understand this one, you can understand that one too, because when you get to Excel 2013, ifs cannot be used. So you know how to manipulate your way around this if statement. Now, before we now summarize this analysis, because that's the last thing we're going to do, let me show us the if statement. That one is quite easy to use. You don't need to be using nested if and all of those things. With if, you just specify your conditions in one, straight sentence, and off you go. So let me create another column here. Insert column left. So in this case, I'm using if statement equals ifs. So if this is greater than, or let's have it less, is less than 0, should return, it should return expired. It does pretty much the same thing, but in a different way. It should return expired. Let me do a simple if first. Else, it should return good. So let me close that parenthesis. So what's the error? Okay, because we are using ifs, we need multiple conditions. Multiple conditions. So the first thing is specify the first condition. If that is less than 0, expire. Then we'll go ahead again. If it is less than a particular figure, because the reason why it's returning that error message because ifs, as the name implies, is plural. The number of arguments must be more than 1. So if h is less than 0, expired, then we'll put the next condition. If h2 is less than 30, then it should return less than 30. This one is quite easy and straightforward. I'm sure you like it. It should return less than 30. Then the next condition, if h2 is less than 60, so it should return between 30 and 60. Between 30 and 60. Between 30 and 60. Then the next condition, you can see this one is quite easy. We are not using any ifs and all of those things, any nested if. The next condition, if h2 is less than 90, then we should return between 60 and 90. So you can see this one is quite easy for anyone to use. You should run between 60 and 90. Okay. 1 minute. So from there, the last one now is if it is greater than 90, then it should return what? It should return greater than 90. So that's the last condition that we're going to put. So we can now say that if the last line is greater than 19, so now this is where we close if statement. If you're using ifs for if statement, once you just input the alternative, okay, this one is not true, return this particular false value, you are good. But for this one to close it, we close it with true. Okay, if these other ones, you know, if those other ones are not true, then return greater than 90 days. Then we can enter. So you can see how easy this one is. So from here, if you don't close it with that true means that, okay, if these other ones are not true, what should be the result? Greater than 90 days. So then we can now autofill downward. Now with this, we are ready for our summary. But before we take the summary, which will be the last thing for tonight, let me find out if there's any question. Then we'll call it a wrap for this night. So if you have any question, please unmute your mic and go ahead. Okay, Mr. Adela, go ahead. Oh, let me unmute you. All right, go ahead.
Okay, thank you once again. So I want to ask a question. Like, let me assume that you went for an interview, and the interview, you said something earlier on, which is very, very correct. Like sometimes they tell you this is what they want, and maybe in the course of telling you what they want, then you now begin to build on the what's it called, the model yourself. But
Yes.
again, let's assume you are asked to come and build a model, like you want to, regardless of whatever they are using, you want to build your own model. You understand what
Okay.
I'm saying? Yeah.
Mhm.
So is that part of this particular set of things that we are doing or something else? You understand? Thank you, sir.
Yes. All right. Okay. Thank you. In fact, I love the fact that we are thinking real life. I love that fact, and that's why we are me. I don't like anything theory. Now, if you are required to build a model for an organization, let me take for example one of the one of the new guys that just came to my organization, one of the top guys. Now, when they come in, the first thing they do, some of them, the first thing they do is they want to get their own model to get things done, irrespective of what you've been doing before. So they try and understudy what you were doing before, then they want to introduce, their own model. Now, all this that we are doing here now, if by tomorrow I decide to create a model for an organization, knowing their need, and their need is in this same line that I'm working now. As soon as I copy data, that model should be able to bring all this information with just one click. On the ground, I put all the formulas, all the ifs, all the nested, all kinds of things I'm supposed to do. They are there on the ground. But once they introduce their data, of course, whatever result they are looking for will be based on what they are putting in. Once they are bringing all of those things in, this should be able to, generate an automated result for them. Let me give you an instance. I got an offer that was last year, and when we started working on reports, it was observed that there were reports that we do every day, like this summary now. It could be that it's a report that we do on a weekly basis. We should get to a stage where by the time I'm done with this analysis, my summary is already picking figures. And that's the kind of thing that we are doing now. So is in line with what you're asking. By tomorrow, if I want to run the same analysis, I just need to cross-check my summary to be sure that it's correct, because the formulas are there on the ground already. So as soon as I'm putting those information and putting the new data set, the summary is already being calculated. So there won't be need for me to run those things every now and then. So once I understand what is happening on the ground, I can always build anything I want to build and tailor it to suit the need of my client. So that's just the way it is. So on a final note now, our aim is to get that summary, and we've been able to, get these things that we have here. And if you look at the summary, what we need the quantity of expired, quantity of less than 30 days, quantity of between 30 and 60 days, quantity of between 60 and 90 days, then above 90 days. The quantity might not interest some stakeholders, but once they see percentage, if I see a report and I'm seeing 25% expired, without looking at the figure, I know that there's a problem already in that location. So that's the essence of this summary. If I see fresh stock, okay, 90% fresh stock, okay, this is not bad. About to expire, 20%, all of those. I'm just using it as an example. So when I just visualize this, I already know where the problem is. And then without much hassle, I can always get the kind of result I want. So what I need now is the quantity of products that have expired. So I need quantity. Remember, there's a column that is that quantity column. I've analyzed each of those entries that we have greater than 90 days, and all of those. I've analyzed that. And next I want to do now is let me create a column and insert a column left. I need to get the quantity of products that still have more than 90 days shelf life. Of course, I need to sum the products now. I want to sum the quantity of products that has more than 90 days shelf life. Now, it will be effort in futility. I showed us how to filter. For me to now start filtering this, I'll filter this column, then filter the ones that are greater than 90 days. Then now sum. As much as that will work, what that means is that every week, if this report is a weekly thing, every week I will have to be doing the summary afresh. But I don't want to do that. I want a situation whereby from this stage, my summary is ready, which is possible. So what do? I will use this function called the sum if. Sum if. Now, sum if this column, if the string there is, let's say, greater than 90. Greater than 90. Mind you, if you are typing this thing, it has to be the same as what you have there. If I should type greater than 90, then comma, what do I want to sum? I want to sum quantity. Let me close the parentheses. You can see that I'm getting 0. Reason being that there's no string as greater than 90 in this column that I've referenced. So it has to be exactly the same as what you have there. The space also should be the same way. So if it's not the same, that means that there's no product as such. So let me modify this. Greater than 90 days. Greater than 90 days. So automatically, products that are greater than 90 days, I have a sum already. The next condition, between 60 and 90 days, I'll say equals sum if, because that's the model we're talking about. You don't want to be doing repetitive tasks the same, the same way over and over again. Every week you are doing the same thing. Once you have the template you are using, some formulas are generic. As soon as the data is there, you get the result at the other end. Now, sum if that's the column where we have the condition. That's the range. What are you looking for? The ones that are between 60 and 90 days. 60 and 90 days. Then what do you want to sum? You want to sum the quantity. Then we'll close the bracket. Now I'm getting 0, despite the fact that I have between 60 and 90 days. Look at my command. Somebody should unmute and tell me why this thing is returning 0. Can we clear up that? Look at the command. Let's make it a little bit interactive. Why am I having 0? Despite the fact that we have between 60 and 90 days. Just look at it.
Maybe the case, I think it's case sensitive.
Is that correct?
I don't know.
Any other person? Can anybody else try?
Or maybe there is extra space.
Okay, thank you very much.
I think extra space. Also,
yes, it's not what I entered is not exactly the same.
Yeah.
The condition we have is between 60 and 90. Me, I wrote between 60 and 90 days. So it looks for between 60 and 90 days, you cannot find it. So that's why I said the quantity is 0. So let me remove the day. So now we have the sum. In the next condition, between 30 and 60 days equals sum if this range, comma. So we are between 30 and 60 days. I hope that condition is correct. Let me put the quotation. The quotes. So between 30 and 60 days. Then what are we summing? Quantity. So let me close the parenthesis. So again, I need to go and confirm the way that thing is written. So we are between 30 and 60. No, there's no days there. So between 30, you need to be sure of what you have there. So between 30 and 60. So I enter that. Then the next one is less than 30. So sum if you are summing this range. And what are you looking for? Less than 30. Less than 30. Then from there, what are we summing? The quantity. We close the parentheses. Enter. Then the last one is less than 0. So equals sum if. From here, expired. Anyone that is expired, let's sum. Expired. Then what are we summing? quantity, close the parentheses, enter. So now we have all the sums that we need. Now let's now go to our summary. From there, we can pick all of those. Now for the expired, from there, you just come, navigate to your summary table. Come there and put equal sign. Go to where you have those figures. Expired is the last one that we did, right? So just click on it, press enter. Automatically, you go to that. It will go to that sheet. The next one, equal sign. We have this. Press enter. It will go there too. The next one, equal sign. Sorry. Next one, equal sign. It should be this one. It will go there. Then the next one, between 60 and 90 days. This one, it will go there. Then the last one, above 90 days, equals this, it will go there. Now, our summary is almost ready. So we need to sum this up. Of course, I'm sure that you will know how to sum. So we sum. We sum all of these entries. And the total sum is 483,377. You get percentage contribution. Percentage contribution is just the quantity divided by the total. Then you convert it to percent. So how do we do that? Equals this. You can see that Google Sheet has already suggested already, as if it knows what you want to do. C2 divided by C7. So once I select the C2 divided by C7, I'll press enter. Automatically we have 11%. Then I can replicate this downward, so it will use the reference. So now, look at something that you should as if there's error. And this is where absolute reference comes in. We want the sheet to always reference the total for all the entries. So that's where absolute reference comes in. So if you use absolute reference, you will get the result that is required. So now you can see it. If I sum this up, I will get 100%. All right. So that's 100%. Now, the implication of this is that this is the summary. All these sums that I have here is not part of the analysis on this sheet. So even if I hide this, I can hide the column. Now by tomorrow, I want to run this same analysis. As soon as I put my figures and do the shelf life in days, automatically this analysis column will be calculated. And the summary, I don't need to do anything on the summary again. It will be updated automatically. If this is not tampered with, next tomorrow or next week, in 2 weeks time, I'll just put my data and my summary will just come up. As soon as I get the major thing I need to get, the shelf life in days, then from there I can get the summary. So that's the beauty of all of these things. So I think that will be the last thing I'll do for now. Look at this now. Look at this. For example, if what I only need is percentage, I don't need this quantity. And for one reason or the other, I decided to delete this quantity. Don't forget, we use the quantity to calculate this percentage. Then I decided to delete this quantity. I'll get error message. Reason being that the sheet can no longer see the reference, and so it starts showing me ref error. This happens a lot because I've had us to run some reports, and at the other end, at some point they said the date was showing 2030. And the reason being that if I copy a sheet that has a reference formula at the background, and I decide to now copy it, let's say there's a VLOOKUP that I've used on one sheet, and I now copy that same Excel file to another document, the workbook, that cannot reference what I have used, it will start showing me error. Now, what do we do? What's the quick fix to this? So even if I don't need, let me undo this. Again, be mindful of what you delete. If I don't need this, or maybe I want to copy S and I don't want that formula to affect my issue, my work, all I just need to do is I'll remove the formula at the background. then I can do anything I like with it. So it will become as normal entry. How do I do that? For this column, I'll just select the column I want. I'll do Control C. For some, I'll just bring it to the first cell. For some, you can decide to right click and go to your page special. But for me, I use shortcuts. I'll just press Control Alt and V. Control Alt and letter V. Automatically, you get this prompt. Control plus Alt plus V. Those three together. Then I'll select values. What I'm saying is that remove the formula underground, just give me the values alone. So even if I delete the reference, nothing will happen. So I'll just say values. Okay. So now if I delete this cell now, nothing will happen because I've removed the formula underground. So this will be helpful if you are copying from one sheet to the other and all of those things, so that those other people will not run into trouble. You can always remove the formula underground for them so that they can do anything they want with the information. So I think that will be right about all for tonight. It's been a very long and a very interesting one. Thank you very much, everybody, for having me this evening. Honestly, it has actually been a very insightful session. And again, our commitment is still the same thing. We are committed to ensure that all of us we actually get up to speed. I want to also cite this, that nobody's an island. I can learn from you, and that's why I appreciate those contributions that were coming in and those questions. And that is to say that if you are doing your own research from your end, you can always come up with ideas and what you feel can also be a better way of doing certain stuff. So we all are here in this community to learn and grow together. Nobody's an island. Nobody has attained. So let's see that as though all of us, we are here to learn together. So please and please, as much as possible, if there's any issue, practice, and practice is the secret. Practice as many times as possible. Whenever you run into any issue, reach out to us, and I believe we have professionals in the house that we attend to your question and issues. And from your end, from your research, if there's any new thing that you feel can be beneficial to us, do well to reach out to us too. Thank you very much for having us this evening, and I appreciate your coming. And I say you should enjoy the rest of your evening and have a blessed week.